Tonight, we march into the ancient mists of Caledonia to follow the ghostly footsteps of the lost Ninth Roman Legion. But first, come in, close the heavy door against the wind. You are safe here in the library. It is warm by the fire, and the world outside has faded away completely. The volume for this tale is already waiting on the desk, bound in weathered red leather, smelling of iron and old parchment. Let us open it and listen. Our story begins. There is a silence that belongs only to stone. It is not an empty silence, nor is it the mere absence of sound. It is a heavy, velvet weight, a presence that settles over the world when the sun begins to dip below the horizon and the noise of the living fades away. Tonight, I want you to close your eyes and let your mind drift to a place where time moves slower than the beating of your own heart. We are not going to the Rome of history books, the Rome of shouting crowds, of clashing steel, or the chaotic roar of the chariot races. We are going to the Rome of memory. Imagine the feeling of cool, smooth marble beneath your fingertips. It is the hour of twilight, that magical suspended moment between day and night. The air is cooling, carrying the faint, dusty scent of dry earth and old pine, but the stone itself remembers the sun. Lay your hand flat against a great column, one that has stood for 2,000 years. Can you feel it? There is a gentle, radiating warmth stored deep within the rock, a soft heat that pulses slowly against your skin. It is as if the stone is exhaling the day, releasing the golden light it drank in during the long, bright afternoon. This is the heartbeat of the empire, not the marching of armies, but the quiet persistence of stone that endures while everything else turns to dust. In this space, the shadows are long and soft, stretching across the cobbled streets like pools of dark water. The grandiose buildings, the temples and the arches lose their sharp edges in the dim light. They become vast silhouettes, giant guardians watching over a sleeping world. There is a sense of absolute permanence here. The world outside may rush and hurry, consumed by the anxieties of the moment, but here, among the ruins that are not truly ruined, there is only peace. The marble does not worry about the future. It simply exists, holding the secrets of centuries in its cool embrace. Listen closely to the wind as it weaves through the archways. It sounds like a long, slow breath, a sigh of contentment from a city that has seen everything and decided that rest is the only true luxury. As we walk through these quiet colonnades, the scent of lavender and ancient mortar fills the air. It is a dry, comforting smell, the smell of a library where the books are made of granite and the pages are written in the cracks and weathered surfaces of the walls. We are walking through a dream of the past, a version of history that has been washed clean of pain and noise, leaving only the beautiful, melancholic architecture of what once was. It is a safe place to wander, a place where you can be alone with your thoughts, surrounded by the strength of things that do not break. And as we drift deeper into this twilight empire, we find ourselves drawn to a story that is not written in the stone, but rather is missing from it. A story defined not by presence but by absence. We turn our gaze from the warm marble of Rome toward the north, toward the mist and the unknown. We are here to speak of the 9th Legion, the Legio Hispana. In the annals of history, there are many tales of conquest and victory, of battles won and borders drawn, but the story of the 9th is different. It is not a story of loud triumph, nor is it a tragic account of a battlefield filled with the fallen. It is a mystery wrapped in the softest fog. It is the allure of the lost. Think of something precious slipping from your hand into a deep, dark lake, disappearing beneath the surface without a splash, spiraling down into the silence. That is the 9th Legion, 5,000 men, 5,000 souls in heavy iron and red wool. They marched north into the damp, green wilds of Britannia, and then they simply ceased to be. They did not return. They did not send messages. They walked into the mist and became part of the myth. Tonight, we do not look at this as a crime to be solved. We do not need to find the bodies or analyze the tactics. We are here for the romance of the disappearance. There is a strange, hypnotic beauty in the idea of vanishing completely, to step off the edge of the known world and dissolve into legend. Imagine the sound of their marching fading away, not stopping abruptly but growing quieter and quieter, like the sound of rain tapping against a window pane as a storm moves away. One moment, the rhythmic thud of boots on the earth is clear and present. The next, it is a whisper, a ghost of a sound carried on the wind, and then there is only the silence of the forest. The trees close in behind them. The ferns spring back up where they were trampled. The mist rolls over their path, erasing their footprints as if they were never there at all. They became a dream. It is a story that invites us to wonder, to speculate in the safety of our own minds. It transforms history into a bedtime story. The terror of the unknown is stripped away, leaving only the fascination. Where did they go? Did they find a hidden kingdom in the mists? Did they walk until they reached the edge of the world and simply stepped off into the stars? The lack of answers is what makes it so comforting. It means the story never has to end. It floats there, suspended in time, a perfect, unsolvable riddle that allows our minds to wander without destination. But remember, as we follow this trail of shadows and fog, you are safe. You are here, in the sanctuary of the present moment. The history we explore tonight is a lullaby, not a nightmare. We are like travelers, sitting by a warm hearth, looking out a window at a storm that cannot touch us. The glass is thick, the fire is warm. The Ninth Legion wanders in the cold mist of the past, but we are wrapped in blankets of wool and safety. We follow their trail tonight, but only as observers of the mist. We are ghosts watching ghosts, unable to interact, unable to change the outcome, and that is a relief. There is no responsibility here. You do not need to save them. You do not need to warn them. You only need to witness the beauty of their fading. Let the weight of their iron armor be heavy for them, not for you. For you, the story is light as a feather drifting on the air. Feel the atmosphere of the room around you, the stillness, the quiet, just as the dust settles in the corners of an ancient library. Let your thoughts settle now. The questions of the Ninth Legion are not demands for answers. They are invitations to sleep. Let the mystery wrap around you like a heavy quilt. We are going to walk north now, leaving the warm stone of Rome behind, stepping softly onto the mossy paths of Britannia. But we do so with the knowledge that we can return any time. We are merely visitors in this time of shadows. So take a deep breath. Inhale the scent of old paper, of candlelight, of the imaginary pine forests we are about to enter. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. The Empire has vanished, but you remain. The Legion is lost, but you are found. You are safe here in the Library of Whispers, where the only danger is drifting too deep into a dream, and that is no danger at all. Let us walk together into the fog, following the faint echo of the ninth into the silence that awaits us all. Listen closely now. Can you hear it? It is a sound as dry as autumn leaves skittering across a stone floor, a sound that speaks of age and preservation. It is the sound of the scroll unfurling. The parchment is stiff, resisting the hands that seek to flatten it, wanting to curl back into the comfortable embrace of its cylinder. It crackles, a sharp, brittle protest that cuts through the silence of the room. This is not paper as we know it, smooth and white and yielding. This is vellum, the treated skin of an animal, cured and scraped until it is translucent and tough. It has a texture like the finest sand, a grain that catches the light of the candle and holds it. Feel the weight of the weights placed on its corners. Heavy bronze tokens, perhaps shaped like lions or eagles, cold to the touch, pressing down the curled edges to force the world to lie flat. The map is revealed slowly, inch by inch, a landscape emerging from the coil. It is a masterpiece of cartography, yet it is also a beautiful lie. Look at the lines of ink. They are dark, brewed from oak galls and iron, etched into the skin of the scroll with precision. They claim to define the world. Here is a river, a blue vein painted with crushed lapis. Here is a mountain range indicated by small, jagged peaks that look like teeth. And here are the borders. On this parchment, the borders of the empire are absolute. They are solid, unbroken walls of ink that separate the known from the unknown, order from chaos, the light of Rome from the shadow of the barbarians. But run your finger along that line. Feel the ridge of the dried ink. It is so fragile. A single drop of water could smear it into nothingness. A clumsy hand could tear the world in two. The map suggests that the empire is eternal, that the land submits to the drawing, but the parchment itself smells of dust and fragility. It smells of the archives, a scent of dry decay and desperate memory. It is a document of control, trying to impose geometry on a wild, breathing earth that refuses to be tamed. There is a hand hovering over the map now. It is a weathered hand, the skin like old leather, scarred and tanned by the suns of a dozen different provinces. The index finger traces a route. It does not move with aggression. There is no stabbing at the destination, no violent gesture of conquest. It moves with the slow, deliberate grace of water flowing downstream. This is the mandate. The orders have come down not with a shout, but with a whisper. Maintain order. The phrase hangs in the air, suspended in the dust motes dancing in the light. It is a deceptively simple command. It sounds peaceful, does it not? To keep things as they are, to ensure the road remains a road and not a forest, to ensure the town remains a town and not a ruin. The voice of the commander is low, a rumble deep in his chest that barely disturbs the quiet of the room. He is not a man giving a speech to a legion of thousands. He is a man solving a puzzle. His tone is steady, bereft of passion or fear. It is the tone of a gardener deciding which branch to prune. We march at dawn, he says, and the words are soft, swallowed by the heavy tapestry hanging on the wall. The mission is painted in strokes of tranquility. They are not going to war. They are going to walk. They are to be a presence, a weight of iron and discipline that settles the land simply by being there. The mandate is a lullaby to the province. Sleep now. Rome is watching. Sleep now. The 9th is here. There is a seduction in this bureaucracy. It makes the movement of 5,000 armed men seem as mundane as the turning of a page. It masks the peril with the comfort of procedure. Shift your gaze now. Move away from the map, away from the ink and the parchment, and look into the shadows that gather at the edge of the table. The light comes from a single thick candle made of beeswax. It burns with a steady golden flame, casting a circle of warmth that fights against the encroaching dark. The smell is intoxicating. sweet, heavy honey mixed with the sharp tang of the burning wick. It is the smell of a sanctuary. In this pool of amber light we see faces. They are stripped of their public masks. Here they are not symbols of imperial power. They are just men. Look at the centurion. He sits heavily in a wooden chair that groans softly, a rhythmic creaking sound like the timber of a ship at sea. His armor is unbuckled, resting on a stand nearby, gleaming dully in the gloom. Without the metal shell, he looks smaller, more human. His hair is grey, cropped short, and the firelight deepens the lines around his eyes. These are eyes that have seen the sun rise over the jagged peaks of Spain and set over the sands of Africa. Now they look at the map with a mixture of fatigue and duty. He is tired. Can you feel that weariness? It is a heavy blanket on his shoulders. He rubs his thumb against the smooth wood of the table, a repetitive, soothing motion, grounding himself in the texture of the present before the uncertainty of the road takes him. Across from him sits the scribe. He is young, his face smooth and unmarred, a stark contrast to the weathered map and the weathered man. He holds a stylus, but he is not writing. He is watching. His fingers are stained with ink, permanent shadows on his skin. He smells of paper and nervous sweat. He is the witness. He listens to the commander's soft words and tries to imagine the reality they will birth. To him, the North is a story, a frightening fable of mists and monsters, but in this room, bathed in the scent of warm wax, the fear is distant. It is muffled by the domesticity of the scene. Listen to the small sounds that fill the space between them. The pop of an air pocket in the candle wax, the soft exhale of the centurion, the rustle of fabric as the scribe shifts his weight. These are the sounds of peace. It is the quiet before the storm, but it does not feel like a prelude to disaster. It feels like a moment frozen in amber, a moment of shared humanity before the machine of the Legion begins to turn. There is a comfort in this planning. The world outside is vast and wild and indifferent to their lives, but in here, within the circle of the candlelight, the world is manageable. It is reduced to lines on a scroll and words spoken in a low voice. They believe they understand what is coming. They believe the map is the territory. The centurion reaches out and pinches the wick of the candle, dimming the flame, but not extinguishing it, letting the smoke curl up in a thin grey ribbon that twists like a serpent towards the ceiling. The smell of the extinguished smoke changes the room. It brings a sudden, sharp note of finality. The planning is done. The scroll is left open, the weights holding the corners down, the ink drying in the cooling air. The decision has been made. They will go. But for now, let us linger in this room a moment longer. Let us stay with the warmth of the wood and the smell of the honey. Let us remember them like this, quiet, thoughtful, safe. Before the first boot hits the mud, before the first drop of rain falls on the iron, they are just faces in the firelight, dreaming of order in a world made of chaos. To understand the depth of the safety they felt, that night you must first understand the shape of the world they built. Eboracum was not merely a collection of buildings, it was a statement of geometry imposed upon the chaos of the earth. Imagine flying above it in the pitch black of the ancient night, looking down. All around is the wild, sprawling darkness of the north, the tangled forests that have no straight lines, the rivers that snake and curve, the hills that roll like the backs of sleeping giants. And there, in the center of that organic disorder, sits a perfect square of glowing light. This is the fortress. It is a shell of stone, thick and unyielding. The walls are made of limestone, quarried from the deep earth, cut into blocks so heavy that they seem to anchor the very ground they rest upon. Run your hand along the outer wall in your mind. It is cold, rough, and damp with the evening mist. The mortar between the stones is as hard as bone. This is the skin of the empire. Inside this shell, everything makes sense. The streets run north to south, east to west, intersecting at perfect right angles. It is a grid of logic. There is a profound comfort in this symmetry. To walk these streets is to know exactly where you are. There are no hidden turns, no confusing shadows. The architecture itself promises that everything is under control. The sentries walk the perimeter of the walls. Listen to the rhythmic crunch of their hobnailed boots on the gravel. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It is a steady mechanical heartbeat. They do not look inward at the sleeping city. They look outward into the void. Their torches cast flickering pools of orange light that dance against the mist, pushing it back just a little. They are the watchers on the wall, the guardians of the square. Because of them, the thousands of souls inside can let go of their vigilance. The stone shell holds them. It embraces them. It says, "You are civilized. You are protected. You are home." Let us move inward now, away from the cold vigil of the walls, and step through a heavy wooden door into the barracks. The air changes instantly. It becomes thick, warm, and heavy with the scent of life. It is an intimate atmosphere, a stark contrast to the vast, cold emptiness of the sky outside. Here the world contracts to a single room, low-ceilinged and cozy. Breathe in. The air is rich with specific smells. The dominant scent is wool. Raw, unwashed wool from the heavy cloaks that hang on wooden pegs along the walls. It smells of lanolin and sheep, a musky, earthy scent that is strangely comforting. It is the smell of warmth itself. Beneath that, there is the scent of old wood, the timber beams of the ceiling, darkened by years of smoke from the hearths, and the wooden bunks polished smooth by the movement of sleeping men. There is the sharp, savoury tang of olive oil used to polish leather armour, and the faint, sweet residue of oil lamps that have just been extinguished. The room glows with the dying light of the central hearth. The fire has burned down to a bed of pulsing red embers, covered in a soft blanket of grey ash. It does not roar or crackle now. It simply radiates a deep, penetrating heat. The light it casts is low and ruddy, painting the room in shades of copper and shadow. It catches on the edges of things, the curve of a helmet resting on a chest, the shine of a bronze buckle, the relaxed hand of a sleeping soldier hanging over the edge of a bunk. There is a profound sense of brotherhood here, but it is a silent one. It is not found in conversation, but in the proximity of bodies. 80 men sleep in this long room. You can hear the sound of their rest. It is a complex chorus of breathing, slow, deep inhales, soft snores, the occasional rustle of straw stuffing in a mattress as someone shifts in their sleep. It is the sound of trust. These men have marched together, eaten together, and bled together. They do not need to guard themselves against one another. In this warm, dim space, stripped of their iron shells, they are vulnerable and yet entirely safe. The barracks is a den, a burrow hollowed out against the cold, filled with the collective warmth of the pack. And then the rain begins. It starts slowly, a few hesitant drops testing the roof, and then it finds its rhythm. The roof of the barracks is covered in tegula, large, flat clay tiles with raised edges, interlocking to form a waterproof shield. When the rain hits the fired clay, it makes a sound that is distinct to the Roman world. It is not the dull thud of rain on thatch, nor the sharp ring of rain on metal. It is a hollow, resonant tapping, plip, plop, tap, tap, tap. The sound grows steady, weaving itself into a continuous curtain of noise. It wraps the building in a cocoon of sound. For the soldiers lying in their bunks, staring up at the dark timber beams, this is the ultimate lullaby. The rain reinforces their safety. It signifies that the world outside has stopped. No one marches in this rain. No enemies move through the mud. The weather has sealed the fortress shut, adding a layer of water to the layer of stone. Listen to the water running down the channels of the roof tiles. It gurgles softly as it reaches the eaves and falls to the ground in heavy, splashing sheets. It washes the dust from the streets of Eboracum. It cleanses the air. The temperature in the barracks drops just slightly, a refreshing coolness that makes the wool blankets feel even better, heavier, more necessary. A soldier pulls his cloak tighter around his shoulders, burying his face in the coarse fabric. The sound of the rain drowns out the breathing of the man next to him, drowns out the crunch of the sentry's boots, drowns out his own thoughts. There is a hypnotic quality to this rhythm. It is nature's metronome, slowing the heart rate down to match its pace. The anxieties of the coming march, the map, the forest, the unknown, are washed away by the steady drumming. There is no future in this moment, only the heavy, wet, present. The rain creates a trance. It feels as though the barracks is a ship floating on a vast, dark ocean, rocking gently with the waves. The deep sleep that descends now is not the fitful rest of the worried. It is the heavy, regenerative sleep of the secure. It is a black, velvet oblivion. Muscles relax completely, untying the knots of the day. The mind releases its grip on reality and drifts into the dark. This is the last true rest they will know for a long time, though they do not know it yet. For now, there is only the warmth of the fire's embers, the smell of wool and wood, and the endless, comforting drumming of the rain on the clay tiles above. The fortress holds them, the night keeps them, and they sleep, suspended in the perfect peace of the stone shell. The light that creeps into the barracks is not yet the sun. It is a ghost of a light, a pale, diluted grey that filters through the high, narrow windows. It is the colour of unpolished silver or of water in a stone basin. It brings no warmth, only visibility. It reveals the dust motes hanging suspended in the still air, frozen in the moment before the day truly begins. This is the hour of the wolf, the hour of the century's fatigue, the hour of waking. There are no shouts. In the popular imagination, an army wakes to the blare of horns and the barking of officers, a chaotic symphony of urgency. But here, with the ninth, the awakening is a silent, organic thing. It happens as if the room itself is taking a breath. One man sits up, the straw of his mattress whispering beneath him, then another, then a third. It is a ripple of movement that spreads down the long lines of bunks. They wake with the precision of a mechanism that has been wound tight, eyes open, blinking against the gloom. Feet swing out from under warm wool blankets to find the cold floor. The silence is heavy, but it is not tense. It is the comfortable silence of men who know exactly what they must do. There is no confusion, no grogginess that leads to stumbling. There is only the routine. The muscle memory takes over before the mind is fully alert. They move like monks in a monastery, performing the first rites of the day. You can hear the soft sounds of life returning, the cracking of a stiff joint, the clearing of a throat, the rustle of dry fabric. It is a quiet choreography of 5,000 men rising as one, preparing to leave the world of dreams and enter the world of iron. The ritual begins with the skin. Before the armour, before the weapons, there is the linen. A soldier reaches for his tunic. It lies folded on a wooden chest, a pale rectangle of fabric. When he unfolds it, it releases a faint scent of lavender and dried soap, a smell of cleanliness that will not last the day. The linen is cool to the touch, woven from the fibers of the flax plant, smooth and forgiving. Watch as he pulls it over his head. For a moment, his face is obscured, hidden within the white cloth, before he emerges through the neck. Whole. The linen falls around him, draping over his shoulders and down to his knees. It is the first layer of civilization. It is soft against the skin, a gentle barrier. He ties a belt around his waist, cinching the fabric. The sensation is one of gathering oneself. The loose flow of the night is pulled tight, organized, prepared. Next comes the scarf, a strip of rougher fabric wrapped around the neck to prevent the armor from chafing. And then, if the morning is particularly biting, the trousers. They are not the loose, billowing trousers of the barbarians, but close-fitting wool that clings to the legs. The wool is scratchy, alive with texture. It traps a layer of warm air against the skin, a small personal climate that he will carry with him into the mist. These are the soft layers, the human layers. They are the clothes of a man. What comes next are the clothes of the empire. He turns to the stand where his armor waits. The lorica segmentata. It is a masterpiece of articulated plate, a series of iron bands hooped together, designed to move like the shell of a lobster. In the dim grey light, the metal gleams with a dull, menacing sheen. It looks heavy, it looks cold, and it is. He lifts the shoulder piece first. The iron has been sitting in the cool night air, and it has drunk in the temperature of the stone room. When he lowers it onto his shoulders, the cold is a shock. It bites through the linen tunic, a sudden, sharp reminder of the weight he has chosen to carry. It feels like a hand of ice gripping his collarbone, but the sensation passes quickly as his body heat begins to bleed into the metal, warming it, claiming it. The assembly of the armor is a slow, methodical process. It cannot be rushed. The soldier brings the two halves of the torso section together, wrapping the iron ribs around his chest. Listen to the sound. It is not a clash or a clang. It is a series of dull thuds as the plates settle against each other. Thud, thud, and then the leather straps. The straps are stiff, cured to a deep, dark brown. He threads a strap through a brass buckle. The sound is tiny and precise. Scritch. The friction of leather on metal, then the pin finds the hole. A distinct metallic snap. He pulls it tight. The armor constricts, it presses against his ribs, his back, his stomach. It changes the way he breathes. He can no longer take shallow, panicked breaths. The weight of the iron forces him to breathe deep and slow. It imposes a rhythm of calm upon his lungs. Now the smell rises, As he works the fastenings, the scent of the armor fills his nose. It is the smell of olive oil. The iron is heavily oiled to keep the damp of Britannia from eating it away with rust. It is a thick, earthy, savoury smell, almost like a kitchen, but with an underlying tang of mineral sharpness. His fingers become slick with it. He rubs the excess oil into the leather straps, darkening them further. This smell is the perfume of the Legion. It clings to his skin, to his hair, to his soul. It is the scent of preservation. He checks the fittings. He twists his torso left, then right. The iron plates slide over one another with a smooth, rasping sound. Sh-clack, sh-clack. It is the sound of a seamless machine. He is no longer soft. He is hard. He is encased in a shell that turns away arrows and deflects blades. The vulnerability of the linen is gone, hidden beneath the carapace of the state. He feels the transformation in his posture. His spine straightens under the load, his shoulders square. He is becoming something ancient and formidable. Finally, he sits on the edge of his bunk to attend to his feet. He reaches for his caligae. These are not mere shoes, they are the tires upon which the empire rolls. They are made of thick, sturdy leather, cut into an intricate lattice of straps that allow the foot to breathe while holding it continuously secure. He slides his foot onto the thick sole. It feels solid, like stepping onto a piece of hardwood. He takes the long leather laces and begins to wind them up his ankle, crossing them over his instep, wrapping them around his lower calf. He pulls them tight, feeling the pressure bind the muscles of his leg. This binding is crucial. It supports the ankle on uneven ground. It prevents fatigue. It feels like a firm, unyielding handshake. He ties the knot, tucking the ends away. Then he picks up the other sandal. The repetition is soothing. Left foot, right foot, the same motions thousands of times over thousands of mornings. When both are tied, he stands up. Listen to the sound of his first step. Crunch. The soles of the caligae are studded with iron hobnails, dozens of them, hammered into the leather in a pattern meant to grip the earth. When he stands, he is not standing on leather. He is standing on iron points. He is rooted to the floor. The sensation is one of absolute traction. He feels anchored. If he were to push against a wall now, the wall would move before his feet slipped. He stamps his feet once, twice. The sound echoes off the stone walls of the barracks. It is a sharp, biting sound, the sound of iron teeth biting into the world. He looks down at his body. The linen is hidden. The skin is covered. He is wrapped in wool, bound in leather, and plated in iron. The scent of oil surrounds him like a halo. The cold of the morning can no longer touch him. The fear of the unknown is locked away behind the ribs of metal. He is ready. The man who slept in the warm bunk is gone. In his place stands a legionary of the ninth. He is a component of a greater engine forged in the quiet ritual of the dawn, ready to walk into the silence that awaits him. The barracks door creaks open, letting in a swirl of mist, and he steps forward, his iron feet striking the stone, walking towards the edge of the map. The great timber gates of Eboracum do not swing open with a shout, but with a low, vibrating groan of oak and iron hinges, a sound that resonates deep in the chest. It is the sound of a heavy lid being lifted from a box. The mist outside is waiting. It curls round the edges of the archway, white and cool, tendrils of vapour reaching in to touch the faces of the men, and then the movement begins. It starts at the front, a shifting of weight, and ripples backward through the ranks like a wave moving through deep water. The first rank steps forward, then the second, then the third. Within moments, the stillness of the morning is shattered, replaced by a sound that is singular in the history of the world. It is the sound of the Roman Empire walking. Listen to the specific quality of this noise. It is not a chaotic shuffle. It is a precise, percussive rhythm. Clack, clack, clack. 5,000 pairs of feet, 10,000 iron-studded soles, striking the paved surface of the via. The road here is a marvel of engineering, a spine of hard grey stones, fitted together so tightly that not even a blade of grass can grow between them. When the hobnails hit this stone, they ring. It is a sharp, clear note multiplied by thousands, creating a continuous rolling thunder that stays low to the ground. It is the pulse of a giant. 1, 2, 1, 2, left, right. The rhythm is absolute. It bypasses the conscious mind and syncs directly with the heart. If you were standing by the side of the road, closing your eyes, you would feel the earth trembling beneath your own feet. It is a gentle, rhythmic shaking, a massage of the soil. The vibrations travel up through the soles of your shoes, into your ankles, humming in your bones. It is a hypnotic sensation. It tells you that something unstoppable is passing by. There is a profound comfort in this rhythm. For the soldier's individual thought dissolves into the cadence. You do not need to decide where to place your foot. You do not need to worry about the length of your stride. The man in front of you sets the pace, and you follow. The man behind you follows you. You are held in a web of motion. The anxiety of the individual, the fear of the future, the memories of the past, is crushed beneath the weight of the collective step. There is only the now. There is only the beat. 1, 2, 1, 2. As the column lengthens and snakes out into the countryside, the legion ceases to be a collection of men. It transforms into a single vast organism. It is a machine made of flesh and iron, breathing and moving with a singular purpose. Shift your attention from the feet to the body of this beast. Listen to the internal music of the march. There is the sound of the lorica segmentata, the plate armour we fastened so carefully in the barracks. As the men walk, the iron plates slide over one another. It is a whisper of metal, a soft, rasping friction that sounds like a rush of water over pebbles. It is a sound of containment. The iron holds the body tight, keeping it safe, keeping it formed. Underneath the metal there is the creaking of leather. Thousands of straps, belts and sandals stretch and relax with every step. It is the sound of a great ship under sail, the timber and rigging groaning as it cuts through the waves. Creak, creak. It adds a warm, organic texture to the cold hiss of the iron. And then there is the breathing. It is not loud, but it is there. A collective exhale of thousands of lungs. In, out, in, out. It creates a low, rushing wind that travels with the column, independent of the weather. The air around the legion becomes warmer, heated by the exertion of bodies. A faint steam begins to rise from the ranks, a mixture of breath and the first hints of sweat. The smell of the legion intensifies. The sharp tang of the oiled iron mixes with the lanolin of the wool cloaks and the earthy scent of the damp leather. It is a musk of immense power and immense control. This machine brings order to the chaos of nature. To the left and right, the trees grow wild, their branches twisting in random directions. The grass is tangled, the birds fly in erratic loops. But here, on the road, there are straight lines and perfect timing. To be inside this machine is to be safe from the disorder of the world. You are a cog, yes, but a cog is cradled by the mechanism. It cannot fall, it cannot fail, it simply turns. As the miles drift by, the character of the world begins to change. The fortress of Eboracum falls far behind, becoming a memory of grey stone in the mist. The landscape opens up. The tight, enclosed forests give way to rolling moors and vast, open skies. The air grows fresher, colder, carrying the scent of heather and wet peat. It is a wilder smell, sharp and clean. The road changes too. The immaculate paving stones of the city outskirts end, replaced by a well-packed military track of gravel and hard earth. Listen to how the sound of the march shifts. The sharp, ringing clack of iron on stone softens. It becomes a duller, deeper sound. Thud, thud, thud. It is a muted drumbeat now, absorbing the impact rather than reflecting it. The dust begins to rise. A fine, pale powder kicks up from the dry earth, coating the shins of the soldiers, settling in the creases of their boots. It tastes of chalk and dry clay, but the rhythm remains unbroken. The change in terrain does not slow the pulse. If anything, the softness of the earth makes the trance deeper. The shock of the step is gone, replaced by a rhythmic squashing of the gravel. Look at the horizon. It is a wash of greens and browns, undulating hills that look like the back of a sleeping animal. The sky is a vast bowl of pearl-grey clouds, heavy and low. In this immense silent landscape, the Legion looks like a red thread being pulled through a green tapestry. The red of the tunics, the red of the crests, the red of the painted shields. It is a vibrant scar on the muted colours of the north. The visual wildness of the moors tries to distract the eye. The wind blows the long grass in chaotic waves. Shadows of clouds race across the hillsides. But the ear is anchored by the march. The rhythm acts as a tether. No matter how wide the world becomes, no matter how far the horizon stretches, the soldier's world is contained within the beat of the hobnails on the gravel. It is a lullaby of endurance. Step, step, breath, breath. There is no need to look at the hills. There is no need to wonder what lies behind the fog. The road pulls you forward. The sound of your brothers surrounds you. You are part of the flow, a single drop of water in a river that knows exactly where it is going. The wild world watches in silence as the machine passes, unable to disrupt the perfect, hypnotic mathematics of the march. And so they walk, deeper into the silence, carried by the rhythm of the road, asleep while moving, safe in the center of the thunder. The sun begins to surrender its hold on the sky, bleeding into a deep, bruised purple along the horizon. The great rhythm of the march, which has been the heartbeat of the world for hours, finally stutters and stops. Silence rushes back into the void, but it is not the silence of rest, not yet. In the wild, animals lie down where they fall, curling into the undergrowth, submitting to the chaos of the forest. But the Legion does not submit. The Legion does not sleep in the wild. It builds a fortress to cage the sleep. Here, in the middle of nowhere, amidst the heather and the wind-swept grass, a miracle of order is about to occur. Watch the surveyors move in the dim light. They carry the groma, a wooden cross with plumb lines that hang straight and true, indifferent to the uneven ground. They plant a stake in the earth. This is the center. From this single point, invisible lines are drawn, slicing through the disorder of nature. North, south, east, west. A perfect square is imposed upon the chaos. It is a geometry of safety. The grass does not know it yet, but it has just become a city. The command is given, unspoken but understood, and the tools appear. The dolabra, the heavy pickaxe of the legionary, is unslung from the pack. Listen to the sound of the first strike. Thud. Iron bites into the virgin soil, then another. Thud. Crunch. It is a different rhythm than the march, slower, heavier, but just as hypnotic. Thousands of men begin to dig. They are carving a line in the earth, a boundary that says, beyond this point the night cannot pass. The air fills with a heavy primal scent. It is the smell of the earth itself being opened. It smells of damp black soil, of ancient roots being severed, of clay that has not seen the light of day for 1,000 years. It is a raw, fertile smell, thick with moisture and life. As the trench, the fossa, deepens, the earth is thrown upwards to form the wall, the agga. It creates a high rampart, a spine of fresh dirt that circles the camp. There is a profound comfort in this labour. With every shovel of dirt thrown, the soldiers are building their own safety. They are physically moving the world to protect themselves. The wall rises like a blanket being pulled up around a sleeping child. The deeper the ditch, the higher the wall, the further away the darkness feels. The sounds of the wild, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of a badger, are pushed back, separated from the men by this fresh scar of protection. Inside the walls, the city rises. It is a city of leather. The tents are unrolled from the mule packs. These are not flimsy sheets of cloth. They are made of heavy, stitched calfskin or goatskin, cured to be waterproof and tough. They smell of tannery and animal fat, a musk that speaks of shelter. Listen to the specific sounds of construction, the groaning of the leather as it is stretched taut over the wooden poles, the sharp wooden tock, tock, tock of the mallets driving the pegs into the ground. It is a busy domestic sound, like the building of 1,000 tiny homes. The tents are not placed at random. They form streets. Straight, narrow avenues appear in the grass, mimicking the stone streets of Eboracum. Every 8 men share a tent, a contubernum. They know exactly where their tent goes. They know exactly who sleeps on the left and who sleeps on the right. In a world of unknown mists and shifting shadows, this predictability is a balm to the soul. The light is almost gone now. The camp is a grid of shadows, and then the fires are lit. One by one, sparks catch in the tinder, and small, contained flames bloom throughout the city of canvas. The smell of the air changes instantly. The raw scent of the dug earth is overlaid with the comforting, sweet aroma of wood smoke. It drifts low among the tents, weaving a ceiling of grey haze that holds the warmth in. Walk closer to one of these fires. The heat radiates outward, flushing the cheeks of the men who gather around it. They have removed their armour. The heavy lorica sits on a stand, cold and empty, while the men themselves are soft in their tunics. They rub their hands together, washing them in the warmth. The firelight flickers in their eyes, replacing the 1,000-yard stare of the march with a softer, more intimate gaze. The evening meal is being prepared. It is simple fare, but in the cooling night it smells like a feast. A pot hangs over the fire, bubbling with pulse, a thick grain porridge. The steam rises, carrying the scent of boiled wheat and perhaps a bit of bacon or lard melting into the mix. There is the smell of flatbread toasting on hot stones, the flour browning and crisping at the edges. This is the moment of deep cozy. The wall is finished. The sentries are posted. The trench is deep. The wild north is vast and cold, but it is out there. Here, inside the square, there is warmth, there is food, there is the low murmur of voices exchanging stories, the soft laughter that comes when the day's work is done. The leather walls of the tents glow orange from the inside, looking like paper lanterns scattered across the field. The soldier dips his wooden spoon into the bowl. The heat of the porridge spreads through his chest, chasing away the chill of the mist. He looks around at his brothers, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames, and he feels a profound sense of peace. They have built a home out of nothing. For tonight the empire is not a marble city in the south. It is this patch of grass, this ring of dirt, and this circle of firelight. They are safe in their city of canvas, an island of warmth in a sea of night. We have walked a long way together. We have marched on the paved roads that run straight as an arrow, and we have slept within the square walls of the camp, safe in the geometry of the empire. But now the road begins to fade. The stones that paved the way are gone, replaced by beaten earth, and then by merely a track through the grass, until even that disappears. We have arrived at the edge. The Romans called it Ultima Thule, the furthest place, the limit of the world, the point where reality begins to fray at the seams. Welcome to Caledonia. The landscape here does not welcome you. It tolerates you. It is a land of breathtaking, raw austerity. Look around. The familiar green of the southern forests, the gentle rolling hills of the Middle Lands, they are all gone. In their place is a terrain of ancient brooding power. The ground is carpeted in heather, a low, dense shrub that covers the hills in a mantle of deep, bruised purple and rusty brown. It is a dark, regal colour, the colour of dried blood and twilight. It absorbs the light rather than reflecting it. Rise your eyes to the hills. They are not soft mounds of earth. They are jagged bones of the planet jutting through the skin. Great slabs of grey granite, speckled with lichen that is pale green and vibrant orange, stand like silent sentinels. They are wet with the eternal dampness of this place. Run your hand over one of these stones in your mind. It is cold, rough, and slick. It feels older than time. It feels indifferent to the existence of men. The sky here feels lower. The clouds are not distant ceilings. They are heavy, grey curtains that drag their bellies across the tops of the hills. They are thick with rain that never quite falls, but hangs in the air as a piercing mist. This mist clings to everything. It beads on the wool of your cloak. It settles on your eyelashes. It blurs the horizon so you can never be quite sure where the earth ends and the sky begins. It is a world of soft focus, a watercolor painting left out in the rain, where the colors bleed into one another, grey into purple, purple into green, green into black. In this vast emptiness, the first thing you notice is what is missing: the sound. Close your eyes and listen. In Rome, the air is thick with the noise of humanity, the shouting of merchants, the rattle of carriage wheels on cobblestones, the clinking of coins, the barking of dogs. Even in the camp, there is the constant hum of 5,000 men, the clatter of armor, the chop of wood. But here, the civilization of noise has vanished. The silence of Caledonia is not empty. It is a living, breathing presence. It is a vast, open space that rushes into your ears. The only sound is the wind. It does not howl. It whispers. It combs through the long, dry grass of the moorland with a soft, rhythmic hissing sound, like the ocean breathing far away. It moves the heather in waves, a purple sea rippling under an invisible hand. Occasionally, the silence is punctuated by a single sharp note. A raven calls from a rocky outcrop. Croak. The sound is guttural, dry, and incredibly loud in the stillness. It echoes off the valley walls, bouncing back and forth until it fades into nothing. It emphasizes isolation. That single bird call tells you that you are alone, but do not feel afraid. There is a strange purity in this isolation. It is a silence that cleanses. It strips away the clutter of the mind, the worries about rank, about pay, about the politics of the Senate. They all seem absurdly small here. The silence washes them away, leaving only the essential. You are breathing. You are standing. You are watching. The complexity of the empire dissolves in the wind, leaving a simple, meditative clarity. It is the feeling of being a single, solitary point of consciousness in a vast, indifferent cathedral of stone and sky. As the grey day deepens into night, the clouds momentarily part, torn open by the wind high in the upper atmosphere. For the sentry standing watch on the perimeter of the temporary camp, the world transforms again. He leans on his pilum, the heavy javelin, his breath pluming out before him in white clouds that vanish instantly. He looks up. The stars here are not the stars of Italy. In the south, the warm, humid air softens the starlight, making them twinkle and dance. But here, the air is thin, cold, and crystal clear. The stars do not twinkle. They burn. They are hard, bright diamonds scattered across a sheet of black velvet. They look closer, as if you could reach up and cut your finger on their sharp edges. Look at the constellations. They are the same shapes, yet they feel alien. They hang differently in the sky, rotated by the latitude, staring down with a cold, blue-white intensity. The Milky Way is a slash of spilled milk, a bruised pathway across the heavens, so bright it casts a faint, ghostly shadow on the heather below. The cold of the night is absolute. It is not a biting wind, but a stillness that seeps through the layers of wool and leather. It is a preservation cold, a freeze that stops time. The sentry wraps his cloak tighter, feeling the warmth of his own body trapped against the cold universe. He feels incredibly small. Usually, feeling small is a source of fear. But tonight, under these alien stars, it is a comfort. The universe is so vast, so old, and so cold that his own life, his own fears, the fate of the Ninth Legion, all of it feels insignificant. And in that insignificance there is freedom. The weight of duty lifts, the burden of being a soldier of Rome, a conqueror, falls away. He is just a man standing on a rock, watching the lights of distant suns. The darkness around him is not filled with monsters. It is filled with peace. The emptiness of the landscape means there are no hidden threats, only the wind and the rock. He stands at the edge of the known world, looking out into the void, and the void looks back with a beautiful, starry indifference. He takes a deep breath of the freezing air, filling his lungs with the scent of frost and ancient stone, and for the first time in a long time his mind is completely, perfectly still. He is an observer of the infinite, safe in the shadow of the earth, watching the slow, silent wheel of the galaxy turn above the sleeping legion. The open sky of the highlands, vast and indifferent, begins to narrow. The horizon, which stretched out like an endless grey ocean, is suddenly cut off. We are leaving the world of the horizontal and entering the world of the vertical. Ahead lies the great wood of Caledon. It does not look like a forest from here. It looks like a wall of dark green shadow, a solid barrier that rises up to brush the belly of the low clouds. As the first rank of the Ninth Legion steps beneath the canopy, the light changes instantly. The harsh, flat grey of the open moor is filtered out, replaced by a subaqueous gloom. It is a green twilight, timeless and dim. These are not the orderly cypress trees of Italy, nor the managed oak groves of Gaul. These are the Scots pines, the ancient sentinels of the north. Look at the trunks. They are massive, rough-hewn pillars of reddish-brown bark, scaling and flaking like dragon skin. They rise straight and true, soaring high above the heads of the men, before exploding into a tangled canopy of dark needles. The resemblance to a temple is striking, but no human hands laid these stones. This is a cathedral of biology. The trees stand in silent rows, a natural colonnade that stretches on forever into the gloom. Breathe in. The air here is different. It is heavy, still, and incredibly rich. It hits the back of the throat with the sharp, clean tang of pine resin. that sticky amber blood of the trees. It is a medicinal smell, clearing the lungs, awakening the senses. Beneath the sharp pine, there is the deep, loamy scent of wet moss and decaying needles, the smell of the earth digesting itself and being born again. It is the smell of a place that has been damp since the ice retreated from the world. As the Legion moves deeper into this green sanctuary, a strange acoustic shift occurs. Out on the Roman roads, the march was a thunder of iron on stone. On the moors, it was a dull thudding on earth. But here, the ground is a sponge. The floor of the forest is carpeted in layers of fallen needles, accumulated over centuries, and thick, vibrant pillows of sphagnum moss. It is soft, yielding, and silent. The heavy, hobnailed boots of 5,000 men strike the ground, but there is no ring. There is no thud. The moss swallows the sound completely. The march is muffled, dampened down to a soft, rhythmic, hushing sound. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. It is the sound of a heartbeat wrapped in velvet. Even the clanking of the armor seems to lose its edge here. The rough bark of the trees absorbs the metallic frequencies, leaving only the low, organic sounds of leather and breath. The forest acts as a great library, demanding silence from its visitors. The men stop speaking. The majesty of the trees presses down on them, urging them to be quiet, to tread lightly on the sleeping earth. And then the weather shifts. It does not come from the sky, but seems to exhale from the ground itself, or perhaps drift in from the distant, unseen sea. The locals call it the har. It is a mist, but that word is too light for what this is. This is a physical presence. It is a thick, white, rolling tide of vapor. It moves through the tree trunks like a slow-moving river, curling around the red bark, filling the spaces between the columns. It is cool against the skin, tiny droplets of water clinging to the fine hairs on the arms of the soldiers, beading on the cold iron of their helmets. It is not a violent storm. It is a gentle erasure. The visibility drops. First, the trees in the distance fade into grey silhouettes. Then they vanish altogether. Then the man 10 ranks ahead becomes a blurry shadow. Then the man 5 ranks ahead. The world contracts. The universe of the soldier is reduced to the few feet of moss in front of him and the back of the comrade immediately ahead. The horror wraps each man in a private cocoon of white. This is the moment of the great transition. The Legion is not fighting a barbarian horde. There are no painted warriors screaming from the undergrowth. There are no arrows whistling through the mist. There is only the white. The Legion simply walks into it. The red of their tunics turns to pink, then to a washed-out grey, and then is swallowed by the white. The glint of the golden eagle standard, the pride of the 9th, dulls and then disappears, shrouded in the damp fog. It is a peaceful dissolution. The order, the discipline, the geometry of Rome, it all softens and melts away here. The mist does not care about borders or emperors. It only knows how to hide things. The soldiers do not look like conquerors anymore. They look like spirits drifting through the afterlife. They move with a dreamlike slowness, their feet sinking into the soft moss, their bodies parting the mist for a split second before it swirls back in to fill the void they left behind. Imagine standing behind a tree, watching the procession. You see a face, pale and calm, emerge from the fog. You see the condensation dripping from the rim of a helmet. You see the dark eyes looking forward into the nothingness. And then he steps past you, and the white curtain closes behind him. He is gone, not dead, just gone, taken by the air. The column is miles long, a serpent of iron and flesh, but the tail is catching up to the head in this vanishing act. The rear guard approaches. These are the last men of the 9th. They walk steadily, their rhythm unbroken, their silence absolute. They do not look back at the open world they are leaving. They are drawn forward, hypnotized by the quiet, pulled into the heart of the cloud. And then the last soldier steps between two great pine trees. The moss springs back up slowly where his boot pressed it down, erasing the footprint. The branch of a fern, brushed aside by his passing, swings back into place, trembling slightly, shaking off a few drops of dew. The mist swirls in his wake, stitching the air back together, sealing the breach. He fades. The outline of his shoulders dissolves. The tip of his spear is the last thing to vanish, a final flicker of metal in the gloom, and then that too is wiped away. Stand there in the silence. Listen. There is no sound of marching, no clinking of armor, no voices. The forest is exactly as it was an hour ago. The trees stand tall and motionless. The mist drifts slowly through the branches. The smell of pine and wet earth is heavy and sweet. A small bird, perhaps a wren, flits from one branch to another and chirps, a tiny bright sound that underscores the immense quiet. The 9th Legion has not been destroyed. It has been absorbed. The Cathedral of Pines has taken them into its keeping. They have become part of the Ha, part of the moss, part of the memory of the wood. They are safe now, suspended forever in the white mist, marching on a road that has no end, in a silence that will never be broken. The forest closes its eyes, the story becomes a whisper, and the mist holds everything. The mist does not hold a shape for long. It swirls and eddies, a fluid creature that fills the void left by the passing of the men. For a moment, there was a tunnel carved through the white vapor, a passage made by 5,000 bodies moving in unison, but the air is elastic. It rushes back in. The tunnel collapses. The white curtain heals itself, knitting together the tiers until the forest looks exactly as it did at the dawn of time. Look down at the ground. There, deep in the plush green cushion of the sphagnum moss, was a footprint. It was the heavy, distinct impression of a hobnailed boot, a seal of Roman authority pressed into the wild earth. But watch it closely. The moss is resilient. It is a slow, living sponge. Ever so gently the fibers begin to rise. The water trapped within the cells pushes back against the memory of the weight. The depression shallows. The distinct outline of the heel blurs. In an hour it is a vague shadow. In 2 hours it is gone. Nature has a way of reclaiming her silence. The birds, who had fallen quiet at the tremors of the march, begin to sing again. A wren hops onto a branch of a Scots pine, tilting its head, looking at the empty space below. A spider, undisturbed by the ghosts that have just passed, begins to spin a new web between 2 trunks, a delicate spiral of silk that catches the droplets of the mist. It is a barrier of gossamer, so fragile that a single breath could break it, yet it stands unbroken across the path where an entire legion just walked. The wound in the air has closed. The forest is whole again. And so we are left with the silence. But it is not an empty silence. It is a space filled with questions. And because we are here, in the safety of the library, wrapped in the warmth of our own thoughts, we can choose the answers that bring us the most peace. We do not need the harsh truths of history. We can embrace the gentle possibilities. Let us imagine for a moment. What if they did not die? What if the disappearance was not an end, but a transformation? Close your eyes and picture a valley. It is hidden deep within the folds of the highlands, a place so secret that it does not appear on any map drawn by the hands of men in Rome. Perhaps the mist guided them there. Imagine the 9th Legion, tired of the weight of iron, tired of the endless road, walking into this green sanctuary. Imagine them unbuckling their armor, hear the sound of the lorica segmentata falling to the grass for the last time. It is not a sound of defeat, but of relief. They leave the metal shells to rust in the rain, to be covered by ivy and brambles, returning the iron to the earth from which it came. Imagine the soldiers trading their spears for shepherd's crooks. Imagine hands that were callous from gripping sword hilts becoming soft with the soil of a garden. They build cottages of stone and thatch, not in a grid, but scattered along the banks of a winding stream. They marry the daughters of the mist. They have children who speak a language that is half Latin and half the song of the wind. They did not vanish. They merely stopped being soldiers and started being men. They found a peace that the empire could never give them. Or perhaps the story is even more magical. Perhaps they walked so far north that they walked right off the edge of reality. We spoke of Ultima Thule, the end of the world. Maybe the map is real. Maybe they marched until the grey stones of Scotland gave way to a road made of starlight. Imagine them ascending row by row into the sky, on nights when the northern lights dance, when the great curtains of green and violet shimmer above the pole. Perhaps that is them, the 9th Legion, marching forever across the heavens, their armour shining not with the polish of oil, but with the glow of the cosmos. They are the watchers in the sky, eternal sentinels who have transcended the mud and the blood of the earth. There is a comfort in thinking that they dissolved into the spirit of the land itself. Maybe they became the mist. When the fog rolls down from the hills to blanket the moors in white silence, that is the Legion returning to hold the world in a quiet embrace. They are the rustle of the wind in the heather. They are the sudden chill you feel on a warm day that makes you pull your coat tighter. They are not dead. They are the atmosphere. They are the guardians of the silence, protecting the secrets of the north from prying eyes. These are the bedtime stories we tell ourselves. And why shouldn't we? The truth, whatever it was, a battle, a storm, an ambush, is finite. It is a closed book. It has an ending, and likely a sad one. But the mystery is a tapestry that never ends. It is woven from the threads of our imagination, and we can embroider it with whatever colours we choose. Because we do not know what happened, the 9th Legion is immortal. They are still out there, right now in the quiet dark of your own mind. They are still marching. Can you hear the faint rhythmic drumming? Thud, thud, thud. It is very soft, like the beating of a heart under a thick blanket. They are marching through the mist, their eagles held high, their faces calm and resolute. They will never grow old. They will never know defeat. They are suspended in the amber of memory, perfect and untouched. There is a profound safety in this unfinished story. It reminds us that some things can be lost without being destroyed. It reminds us that there are still corners of the world and corners of time that cannot be catalogued, measured, or explained. In a world where everything is illuminated by harsh light, where everything is known and data mined, the 9th Legion remains a beautiful shadow, a secret kept by the stone and the moss. So let them march, let them walk away from us into the white vapor. We do not need to follow them. We do not need to find their bones. We only need to watch them go, fading into the gentle grey, until they are nothing but a whisper. Come back with me now. Gently, slowly, let us drift away from the ancient mists of the highlands, away from the dream of the lost valley, and return to the touch of the solid world. We travel across the centuries, sliding over the timeline like a hand smoothing a wrinkled sheet until we arrive in the present day. We stand in a quiet field, perhaps on the outskirts of York, or perhaps near a lonely wall in the Scottish borders. The ground is wet. It is always wet here. The grass is a vibrant emerald green, fed by the same rain that fell on the iron helmets of the legionaries 2,000 years ago. In the centre of this green expanse, half buried in the earth, lies a stone. It is a slab of grey sandstone, rough and weathered. It does not gleam like the marble of the Forum. It is humble. It is scarred by the wind and pitted by the frost of 2,000 winters. Kneel down in the damp grass. Ignore the cold seeping into your knees. Focus on the stone. Reach out your hand. The surface is not smooth. It is covered in a soft velvet coat of moss, a living layer of green and gold that clings to the rock like a memory. Brush the moss aside gently. Your fingers trace the grooves carved into the surface. They are faint now, eroded by time, their sharp edges softened into shallow depressions. But they are there. L-E-G, the letters of the 9th, H-I-S-P Hispana. They are just ghosts of letters now. The proud inscription that once proclaimed the power of the empire has been reduced to a whisper in the rock. Rainwater has pooled in the curve of the S, a tiny trembling mirror reflecting the grey sky above. There is a profound sadness in this stone, yes, but there is also a deep, abiding peace. The anger of the conquest is gone. The fear of the invasion is gone. The blood has long since washed away, leaving only this quiet marker. This stone is no longer a monument to war. It has become a part of the landscape. A sheep grazes nearby, its rhythmic chewing the only sound in the afternoon air. A beetle scurries across the weathered surface, navigating the valleys of the carved letters. The stone has stopped being a weapon of history and has started being a home for the small, quiet lives of the field. It is cool to the touch, grounding you, connecting you to the reality that everything eventually returns to the earth. Time and nature are the ultimate guardians. They do not judge, they only embrace. They take the sharp, hard edges of human ambition, the swords, the fortresses, the decrees, and they soften them. They wrap them in ivy. They bury them in soil. They wash them with rain until they are smooth and harmless. Look at how the roots of an old oak tree have grown around the base of a ruined wall nearby. The wood holds the stone in a slow, loving embrace. The wall is no longer keeping anything out. It is supporting the tree. The hostility of the border has been transformed into a garden. The silence here is not the tense silence of an ambush, nor the lonely silence of the void. It is the restful silence of a library after the patrons have gone. It is the silence of a job that is finished. The wind blows through the grass, making a soft, rushing sound. Shh. It tells the stone to sleep. It tells the memory of the ninth to rest. The chaotic noise of the world, the traffic on distant highways, the hum of electricity, the chatter of the digital age feels incredibly far away here. It cannot touch this spot. This place is protected by a bubble of slowness. Here, the year is not defined by a calendar, but by the slow growth of the lichen, spreading millimetre by millimetre across the grey rock. And now we must leave the field. We must leave the mossy stone and the rain. Let the image of the green grass fade. Let the grey sky dissolve. Feel the chair beneath you. Feel the warmth of the room. We are back in the Library of Whispers. The air here is still and dry, smelling of old parchment, beeswax, and the faint, sweet scent of vanilla from binding glue. We are safe inside, surrounded by the thousands of stories that line the walls, sleeping in their leather bindings. And so the mist swallows the last shield, and silence falls over the glen. Carefully, now, let us turn the final page and close the heavy cover of the book. The history is written, the mystery is at rest, and you are safe. The fire has burned down to glowing embers, casting a soft orange light. You can let go now, deeply relaxed, protected in the stillness. If you wish to find another book waiting for you tomorrow night, simply subscribe to stay within these walls. But for now, sleep, drift away. Good night.